Let me paint a scene for you. It's late. It's the middle of the night. A man sits in a chair, half-bathed in yellow light from his Art Deco lamp, from this lamp. His face is covered partly by shadows cast from the bridge of his nose. The image is harsh, difficult to interpret, and not particularly vibrant. But what does it say about him? This is a question I've been asking myself more and more lately, and I think I've found my favorite answer within the visual style of David Fincher. Rather, I think that Fincher rebukes my question for the sake of realism. The way that a scene is color-corrected and lit isn't there to say something about the character. It's there to ground them, to make them feel tangible to the viewer. Fincher has a very unique visual style. The Nerdwriter put out a very good video about how he uses camera movements to keep us in tune with the characters, but I've always admired the color within Fincher's work. Up until recently, I liked to think of Fincher's style as gritty and bleak. Frankly, this is how most people often categorize Fincher's visual style, but on the contrary, I'm noticing that his style isn't so much gritty as it is an abject interpretation of realistic lighting. Fincher, just as every other director, is limited to capturing shots with a camera, and no matter how expensive a camera is, there are some things that they just won't ever be able to replicate from the human eye. However, Fincher tries to offset the inadequacies of his camera by understanding the nature of light. The first thing I began to notice while rewatching some of Fincher's work is just how dedicated he is to practical lighting. Basically, there are two kinds of lighting setups, practical and stage lighting. Practical lighting just means that scenes are lit from natural sources, typically ones that we can see within the scene. Stanley Kubrick did this rather famously in Barry Lyndon. Stage lighting is traditionally seen in old cinema, when lighting was done mostly out of necessity. But in Fincher's work, every shot is lit practically, and it makes a lot of sense. When we see light, we can typically pinpoint the source of that light as well, whether it's a lamp or the sun or a neon sign. Practical lighting is another kind of immersive technique. The viewer can see the lighting, therefore they understand why the scene is lit the way it is. Fincher not only creates realism through the kind of lighting he uses for each scene, but he also has a deep understanding of the different qualities of light. It's no coincidence that Fincher worked at the Industrial Light and Magic Company for 2 years. He understands that each kind of light has different qualities, whether that means different kinds of light bulbs or different conditions outside. Practical light sources all have very specific profiles. Fincher uses this to unleash the most realistic version of each light. He plays them in ways that are complementary. Take this shot from the series trailer for Mindhunter. The prison visit room is bathed in artificial light that casts these bluish tones, and the only non-artificial light that is visible in the shot surrounds our protagonist in a much warmer yellow. The cold and calculated killer that is on the left is cast with cold colors and tones, whereas our Boy Scout detective is bathed in this messianic yellow. Fincher does this a lot more than other directors, but it builds upon an existing visual metaphorical language, while also maintaining its crude and overt realism. There's another technique that I began to notice in much of Fincher's work, but it appears most prevalently in House of Cards. He'll have a character lean forward in such a way that their face becomes covered in shadows as they deliver a more sinister line, and this combination of lighting and blocking certainly fit the profile of Fincher as a perfectionist, but it's not just these scenes that are packed with visual metaphor that are done perfectly, it's all of them. I said earlier that Fincher understands not only the nature, but the quality of light. How light's diffusion or lack thereof can influence a shot. Now, I can't say for certain, but I would guess that Fincher plays on this within the post-production color correcting phase. Fincher knows that sunlight is harsh, contrasted. It creates bright whites and dark shadows. So what does he do? He dramatizes it. He makes the shot even more contrasted. When a lamp has a yellow lampshade, Fincher knows that it's going to mute all of the other colors with a yellow tone, so he adds to that effect within post-processing. David Fincher shoots things deliberately. He takes notes of the lighting and just about everything else. He doesn't stage things, but rather he manipulates the practical environment with such ease and mastery that I can't help but be in awe of him. Fincher is one of the great directors of our time, not for his style, but for his ability to command and wield it. With his visual style, both the camera movements that the Nerdwriter has covered and his hyper-realistic lighting, Fincher is able to put the viewer directly in line with the scenes that they're watching. This combination has an almost cinema verite effect, and that's why I think David Fincher is not only the master of lights, but a master of realism in film. Hey guys, Lucid again. Thank you for watching another video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun making this one. Go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Make sure to share it with your friends, family, pets. I don't really care. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. All that stuff's down in the description. Anyways, until next time.